So we are getting into a panel discussion right now, which will talk about the challenges in infrastructure in the agri-tech space for sustainability. Without taking too much of your time, I'll invite Shweta, Dalmmia, founder of Bharat Climate Startups.
So thank you so much, and we genuinely hope that once we leave you with ideas that we can really build and create solutions that actually create impact on the ground. So hi, I'm Shweta. I'm the founder of Bharat Climate Startups, and we work on climate entrepreneurship across the country. We have been documenting climate startups pan-India on ground and did a lot of work around climate entrepreneurship. But I think today it's about agri-tech and it's about you people. So I have got a very interesting panel with me here today, and I would like the speakers to introduce themselves. So we have to start with Madhukar ji, and I was very fortunate enough to visit one of his sites in Loni, and the way his solution actually brought impact to people who were living around the areas of Loni was really amazing. So I think Madhukar ji, please tell us about your work and what you do.
Hi, my name is Madhukar Swayambhu. I am the founder of Vedic Srijan. We work on building technologies which are based on Vedic science, so that is why the name is Vedic Srijan. And we are making nature-based solution for environmental restoration. Agri-tech is one of the offshoot of the environmental solution, because if you look at Bharat, 75% of the water is consumed into the agriculture. So till the time we are not restoring the way we farm, we cannot make the country water abundant. So obviously this has to be linked to what we do. So that is how we are there into agri-tech. We have built a solution called Mathew, that is medicine for agricultural growth and integrated crop conservation. So it's an acronym called Mathew with a double C, right? So we'll talk about it during the course of our discussion. That's a little brief about myself.
And I think next, Madhukar ji actually left on a very good note that how he's actually, cleaning that water that is extremely important for agriculture. Something that Morup ji and we were talking off stage, that how we actually need an integrated system. We need all pieces to come together. So Morup ji, please tell us what do you do? And yes, we will hear more about how you're building digital twins and the way it can actually revolutionize sustainable agriculture in India.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be here. So I work for Infra Kisan. We are a subsidiary of the farm cooperative. So if you browse about agriculture, we've been there for long. Why the subsidiary? The idea was to say that a lot of things are coming up, and we as a company we wanted to be not just a fertilizer company, but we realized that the target audience or the audience who would be working with us, being part of us, essentially they are our bosses. We wanted to do something more for them, and them being a rural citizen, fertilizer is not the only. They look at a lot of things, the finance is one aspect, insurance is one aspect, input, other things. So anything that the rules is looking for from a professional, personal standpoint of view, we said if can we avail those things under a single umbrella. That's we created a lot of subsidiaries. I work for one of the subsidiaries and I lead the AgTech division there. What we do in this vertical is try to scout just the technology, whether it's IoT, whether it's remote sensing, whether it's AI, anything that is there, whoever is working on. We want to look at this technology from a farmer's lens. I think that's something that's been missing for long. So we want to bring that aspect and see, can we create a new or an alternate value chain? Because we have the firm belief that unless a new ecosystem or infrastructure is there for these technologies to thrive, you'll always be going certain back and forth, creating a situation, a cash-related situation, this was your work, and you'll end up nowhere. And which is unfortunately what is happening right now with the agri-tech sector. So us as a farmer organization, we want to see create this ecosystem and work on this. So fortunately, so far we've been able to work in a couple of value chains where we're able to create a system where the value chain itself will bear the additional thing that we build, the technology that we build. So the interesting thing, we are of the belief that how agriculture is transitioning at a very, very fast pace. We must have heard a lot of challenges, but that I believe there is an opportunity for all of you to really build on this. If you look at agriculture sector compared to the rest of the sectors, the least digitized sector is agriculture. I talk about digital twin because I see this as a huge opportunity. The reason why technology is not able to make big foray in this space is because of the lack of digitization. And once that happens, once you have enough of those hyperlocal data points coming up, you individuals, you youngsters are going to bring a lot of change that agriculture will be completely different. None of us are able to vision at this point of time, but I think it's going to drastically change, transformationally change, and it'll be a completely different sector because that's the kind of opportunity and value this sector has. And so we need to encapture it, we need to work on this, we need to build on that. That's an ecosystem. That's I keep on seeing digital twin. That's the basic thing that we have seen, but it needs to be built on a lot. One small note I want to end up closes on the part that how we need to really think at agriculture, how it has transitioned. It has been a natural-based agriculture for long, because that's what Madhukar mentioned about the Vedic part. It's been going on for long, but in the last couple of decades, it's been completely artificial agriculture. So if you want more yield, put more inputs. So the transition from a natural farming to artificial farming, what we are witnessing now is a sort of predictive agriculture, where people like you are putting a lot of data, putting in new models, new AI, new technology, and thus the era of predictive agriculture. I believe the unlocking of this sector will happen when we enter into the next phase, which is more like a pervasive intelligence, where these technologies are going to empower everything that you see under the roof on the farms, right from the tractors, right from the sensors, anything. All those things will go, much like what's happening in you and I, what we are experiencing. Your smartphones to your gadgets like smartwatches, your smartphones, your phones, your tablets, everything. That intelligence has gone there. That is what we need to do. That is what needs to happen in this sector, and that is going to come very, very soon. So I really believe this is going to happen. I really wish most of you can take it up and do a lot of good out in this space. Thank you.
I think we have like a lot of interesting points that we really need to be talking about in this panel. And now moving next, we have Sachin ji. The apple guy, I would really say, he's doing a lot of apples and working on the post-harvest. Sachin ji, please tell us the work that you're doing.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. So my name is Sachin and I represent Agro Ventures and we operate under a brand called Kisan Manch. So we are working with close to 10,000 farmers across Himachal, Kashmir and Uttarakhand, primarily in the northern part of India. And we do a lot of activities on post-harvest side. So we have a lot of collection center, we help farmers in crop yield assessment, and then we do a lot of technology in grading and sorting solutions to provide farmers, and then we have a very large infrastructure for storage, which is called controlled atmosphere storage infrastructure which we have. And then we help farmers in better legalization of their crops, and we do market linkages for various crops, whether it's vegetables, and our main focus is apples right now. So we are doing a lot of work on apples, and this year we have done a lot of innovative things in apple, which we will discuss, once we progress ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And next on the panel, we have Shenoy from Arya, working across again different solutions, storage, finance, and commerce. So Shenoy, please share with us the work that you're doing.
This is Shenoy Mathew. My title says Chief Sustainability Officer, but we see that in a very different light in our organization. We have a vertical which leads with the sustainability and inclusion work. So I lead that. Not exactly the typical work that a CSO does in a large organization. Now at as Arya.ag, we are, I think today we are the largest agri-tech enterprise probably in the Asia when you look at the granular level at which we are present. So most of the people sitting here, you may not have heard about our name, but we are an invisible presence in your home. Because we today handle 3% of the nation's production. It moves through one of our 5,000 facilities across 20 states, and we cover half of India's districts. So you name it, any non-perishables, from corn to sugar to coffee to fibers, that is cotton, or maybe spices, you go to cumin, coriander, chilies. Our presence ranges from like 50% to 25% in the post-harvest space. So that's what we as a company, we store close to 10 million metric ton of commodities in our warehouses. We facilitate agriculture credit to the tune of 25,000 crore to roughly around 7 lakh farmers through the 1,300 farmer organizations. So as a large size organization, we are contributing to the nation's economy. Maybe I partly agree to what the speaker told in the introduction part of the thing, that agriculture is, or doing agriculture is not that romantic these days in this country, which is the reality of the time. Many of you travel, commute in your Ola or Uber cab, or maybe when people come and deliver you in Zomato or Swiggy, whatever it is, right? You talk to the person, where is he from? And you will hear the story of Varanasi or Balia or Muzaffarabad or whatever the places which is 300, 400 kilometers away from here. And if you more ask to him, he will tell a story of his family at home and doing the farming, and he has left his farm and coming and staying here and part of the gig economy. So then who's doing the farming there? Today it is his old parents and maybe his wife, right? I mean, the workforce is getting old and it is more getting feminized, the production side, which is one way good. No, that's a reality. Go to the parts of Maharashtra, you come out of the hotel, you talk to the security guard who's standing there and ask him, he will tell you a story of having a farm somewhere 200 kilometers and giving it to somebody, and he and his wife coming and staying in the city, earning 20,000 a month, better than presenting himself to the vagaries of nature, which is there in the monsoon deficient place and gambling with the nature, right? And here he has an assured income. That's the reality of the time. Now, how do you change that? How do you make sure that we, such a large country, will not end up like Sri Lanka or Pakistan of last year, right? We cannot afford to. That is the role that we try to play, and there are solutions. Someone mentioned that each of the opportunity presents with a solution as well. We wanted to take the market to the farm gate, there were no storages. Today we have 5,000, there is a solution. There was no finance available, we facilitated, there are solutions possible. There was no markets available, we created the market. There are solutions possible. So probably that is what we are here for, and quite happy to see a very different audience, unlike that we see every day, where we can entice some of you, or maybe improve we should say something like a romantic question for agriculture now. Thank you.
They said, oh my god, that audience really grilled us with questions. Next, we have Vijay Singh from Shunya, a serial entrepreneur, and I think as Morup was mentioning that we need to fill all the pieces in the ecosystem. He's working with cattle fodder, and it was very interesting for me to know he's actually using hydroponics to actually create that cattle fodder. So Vijay, please tell us the work that you're doing.
Thank you. So I think we're trying to bring the sexiness back into the agriculture space, something that was talked about at the beginning. Like you guys, I'm not a agriculture background person. I've been in this business for about a year. But let me tell you and there was some discussion that we were having outside, and it's about spotting an opportunity and then trying to do something with it. So I'm a tech guy. But India, the farmers' 30% of income is actually not from core agriculture, it is from milk. India's 5% GDP is milk. So milk in India is bigger than sugarcane, rice, wheat, whatever that we want to discuss, right? However, India is terrible in terms of per animal productivity, which is what we are trying to address by better quality fodder. So all of us would be familiar with that image of a a lady carrying a bundle of fodder which is just harvested from a field and carrying it back to the animal. For those of us sitting in the cities, that looks like a very romantic image of India, unless you are that woman under that fodder, right? And that task has to be done every day, 365 days, and it takes about an hour and a half every day. And this is done by 50% of the households in rural India. Our view was that, and of course, I mean, the reality is that India is about 40% deficit on green fodder, which is what is causing us low productivity on animals. So our view was, why go in for trying to do traditional fodder growth and supply? So the way that we have addressed it is to try and build a controlled environment so that there's no vagaries of nature. We grow extremely dense nutrition using hydroponics as the method, deploy all kinds of tech while doing that. But more importantly, for me, the customer is the poor farmer. He is in a position to get fodder delivered to his doorstep every day, 365 days, the way that you would order a Swiggy. He's in a position to order fodder for his animal. So that's what we are trying to build. Happy to answer any questions. Of course, I don't know most of the areas that they talked about, but I can talk about animal husbandry, I can talk about the animal needs and how we are using tech to do this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. So my question to the panel now is that, why do we really need innovation in the infrastructure space today? What kind of challenges are we today seeing presently in Indian agriculture that we really talk about that, hey, we need innovation in infrastructure? So, I would like to, ask you all to share any specific case studies that today you are witnessing. So maybe we can start with Morup.
Innovation, of course, every sector, everything needs an innovation. So there's no second thought about it. And it's not that someone's felt, we need an innovation. Innovation will come, and a lot of people will work towards bigger aim. And I think that's very much there in the agricultural space. So it's bound to have a lot of innovations. And as far as this sector is right there to really have transcend to another level, and that's only going to happen when most of you will participate in this. The perception that when you say agriculture, most of us we talked about anybody carrying equipment in the farm and doing something. That's the reason I divided into 4 different sort of agriculture is because that's the kind of perception that we carry about farm or agriculture. And that's going to change, guys. The next generation of farmers will look like you and I, So when you think about that, please have that perception what the future holds for this industry. And this is really going to change. Why is it necessary? Because the consumer behavior, the connection between the the grower and the consumer, which was extensive earlier, is now closing down. Today we are living in the age of technology where, whether you like it or not, we are all connected. We are by default colleagues, friends, or whatever you can say. So we cannot avoid that. So that ask or requirement that a consumer has is very much on near real-time basis going back to the buyer to the grower. So that. How do we change that? The conventional industry, the conventional value chain doesn't really offer that real-timeness. So that's the new thing. The new value chain that is going to evolve will have all these, will require many changes, many innovations from an infrastructure point of view. A simple thing which I really believe right now is the challenge is all the people who are trying to do something new in this space, they're working in silos, but that the single ecosystem where all these data points of all these people can work together is completely missing. That's why Agrotech is still in the nascent stage. Once we have those things, when those things change, where we address not just the farmer's point of view, but also the buyer's point of view. See, everybody wants to benefit. If you look at any buyer, they were looking for a quality product, but because there is no visibility on the back-end chain, because there is no visibility in the upstream, they are looking for XY reasons or XY tools, and thus that is becoming more and more centralized, where the end buyer, which is the industry, which is the agribusiness, they call the shots whether it's a good quality, bad quality, all those things. So that change needs to happen. Why is it not happening? Because in the conventional chain, while many things are happening, but at the point of intersection between the production and post-production side, there has been very limited innovation. In the mandis, whether we call it e-mandi and all, nothing much has happened there. And that needs to change. It's not that the agribusiness is not looking for a quality product. They were always looking for a quality product. A simple example, we did some ashwagandha program. I'm just something that you can relate to. Ashwagandha has that property of, we all know it is good for your health and everything. But the reason why is it good because there's one single property in ashwagandha which is called the brithanolide. It's a component that is there. Now, why the farmers are not growing that? The farmers were aware of that. They are going. If you go in MP, Nemaj Mandi, it's a mandi area for ashwagandha. But the farmers, sadly, the farmers who are growing that crop, they are growing a variety of crop. It's a very less brithanolide property, but more yield. Why do they do it? Is it that end buyer is looking for more kgs or more brithanolide? Right? So that gap of communication with the end buyer is looking is completely missing. And the reason why they grow it is because in the infrastructure, in the current value chain, they are paid per kg, not based on the key ingredients property. So that's the gap they need to address. And this is one example that I'm giving you. It's lying in every chain that I talked about. The current production system is completely production driven. A farmer grows something and then looks for a market. With the age of technology, era of technology will completely pivot the same thing. It's going to be completely demand driven. But I'm looking for something, the consumers will speak out. As I was just hearing from Sachin ji that now a big company like PepsiCo is going for Apple-based chips. Why is it happening? Because the consumers are looking for that, and thus the industry is going to pivot everything. So that change is going to happen on near real-timeness because the communication, the digitization is going to be at that level that people can switch to those models. So I think that's going to bring a lot of change in the complete value chain. Which will result in a lot of innovation. I believe, as I was saying, the intelligence that we'll have, whether it's in terms of logistics, whether in terms of fintech, insurance, everything is going to be disrupted. So it's up for disruption at this point in time.
Thank you so much. Sachin ji, would you have
So I will touch base on the key aspect of infrastructure which Shweta has talked about. So when we talk about agriculture, the investments in India has been fairly less in this particular space. So if you look at last year budget, it was $14 billion which Indian government allocated for the agriculture sector. So लगभग 1,30,000 crore के करीब बन रहा है. But if we compare this budget with other countries which are into the agriculture space and who are the leaders in agriculture space, it is very, very less. So let's look at China. China has an agriculture budget of 9 lakh crore, which is roughly 10 times of the budget which India has. And if you look at US, they have even 20% more than China. So unless we don't have large investments in the infrastructure sector within agriculture, this sector will not have a growth momentum which we are expecting. So there are two buckets in the infrastructure space within agriculture. One bucket which is driven by government, which is primarily related to infrastructure related to movement of agriculture produce, which is road network, link roads to the villages from where produce is coming, and then coming on the highways and moving to the ports. So this is a combination of rail network, road network, and port infrastructure which government has to focus upon, where private sector involvement is little less. Then the other bucket is of private sector, where they will invest at a farm level in technologies, in different equipment, machinery, various farm technologies, and then various sorting, grading center, collection center, cold chain, all those infrastructure where private sector can get involved. So unless we don't address these two buckets in parallel, then only this sector can be developed. So I will like to quote a few examples here for knowledge of the students here. So if you look at India, most of the storage space, do you know it is for what purpose? The maximum capacity which is in India is for potatoes. So the largest storage capacity in India which is built is for a generic item, potatoes, almost 30 to 40%. So what we are looking at is a huge gap in terms of storage for fresh produce. So there are a lot of gaps in India in terms of the entire value chain which has been developed, right from APMC mandis to various other infrastructure which government has put in place, which where these all gaps need to be filled in to address what we are all talking about. Almost 50 to 60% of the population is involved in agriculture directly or indirectly, and I am also fourth generation of farmer in my family. My family has been to farming only, so I can see a transition which has happened. So there was a era when Britishers were ruling India. They pushed for cash crops like cotton, and then there was an era post independence where we pushed for for food security, where grains were promoted, pulses, rice, wheat, and paddy, that was promoted. And now we are in a phase where we are in a globalized economy, and we are not only talking about food security, we are talking about income from the agriculture and horticulture. And that's where there is a lot of opportunity for people like you to participate in this ecosystem in various areas and contribute to the growth of economy. And we can hear more about from the participants.
Sachin, to add to that, like even to you and other panelists here, I'd like to ask that today we see that like in newspapers it's almost everywhere कि cold storage में पड़ा काफी सारा produce खराब हो जाता है. We always see that it's not that India is not producing, but somehow we do have people who are suffering from malnutrition. There are instances, when farmers also not getting the real value of what he's producing. So my question to you here is that how today is feeding infrastructure putting pressure on agriculture and putting pressure on India in terms of even malnutrition? Do you feel so? What areas of infrastructure do we really need improvement? Cold storage, irrigation. What are these areas? So please expand on that, and then we'll move to Shenoy.
So as I explained to you that this is an ecosystem where linkage has to happen. So we have seen a lot of stories that in UP particularly, a lot of potatoes were thrown out of the cold store because farmers were not able to pay the rent. A lot of tomatoes are being thrown on the road. So if the linkages across India are established, if I'm going to run a potato train from Agra to south, why this produce will be wasted? Because the transport cost will be less, making potatoes much more affordable in south. And if from south some specific commodities can be transported in a very efficient way to the north. So that entire ecosystem has to work in such a way that we are able to complement each other in the entire ecosystem. That's how it works. Secondly, at a farmer level, we need to help them to engage at a higher level. Let's look at recently I was visiting one collection center of Amazon in Himachal. I was expecting a very high I was having a very high expectation from that collection center. When I visited that collection center, it was only a 20 feet by 20 feet hall with a small weighing machine. So do we expect these kind of investments at a ground level? I don't think so. So Amazon could have come with a better, facility which has a lot of technology, which has a lot of value for the farmers, rather than a weighing machine and a manual sorting being done at a collection center for vegetables. So there are a lot of players in working right now in this particular sector who have to go to close to farmers, close to farms, close to farming community, and bring solution and technology close to them. Farmers doesn't have access right now. So that's where transformation will happen, Shweta.
Shenoy, what are your thoughts, and also share with us, are there any solutions to these infrastructure challenges?
What I will probably share is what we have done. So I structure my conversation into three parts. One, elaborate on the trend that we spoke, and the second is how that trend is becoming an opportunity for organizations like us, and then how is tech helping to scale that opportunity. So these are the 3 points probably I think the people sitting here can make sense out of. On the trend piece, I do not elaborate much because this is a very generic topic. You can learn a lot to the Google, connect to the LinkedIn profiles of Arya, similar such organizations. We all publish a lot and a lot of things are there, so you can read the challenges, the climate challenges, all other challenges. The nutshell, what's happening is like all of those people who are either living farming or not interested is the reason because it's not making an income sense for a smallholder farmer, which is more than 80% of the company's farming population, to do farming. Having a hectare of land and with the escalation in the input and not so remunerative prices is getting accordingly as per the cost escalation in the input. And then over the past 5-6 years, the ambitions have changed, right? The farmer is not the same farmer it was a decade ago. He too have a disconnection, he too have a smart mobile. His family also go through all the trends what you and me are going through. His family, his kids are also aspirational now, right? We call them ambition, but that's aspiration for us. Now, that income that you will get from 2.5 acres is not sufficient to meet all those aspirations. So there are challenges and that aspirations because of which it's becoming less attractive for maybe individual farmer to do the same thing. But at the same time, what I see is this is actually creating an organic environment for natural process of this collectivization happening. Today, government is supporting in a big time through the Companies Act or the Cooperatives Act. It was there 50 years, it has been there. But there is always the saying, right? No power on earth can stop an idea when its time has come. The time of this idea has come now because you have people who are not able to do this on an individual basis, but as a club, 50, 60 people or 1,000 people or 2,000 people, that's becoming attractive to do. So we didn't have that organic collectives like maybe, the China has in commune or the Ubus and Mozarts of the Israel. But these forces are enabling this collective formation in a much faster way. That's what I see. So now what we see as an organization is, this we see as an opportunity for us. So when we started, now let's go to the challenge what we found, infrastructure wise, and what solution we found it, right? So when we look at the solutions in Agrotech space, it's very rare to get a paradigm shift type of thing, like you change from the switch phone to the touchpad or from a ICE engine to a EV engine type of a thing that happens in that ecosystem. But there are things that can happen as well, but many times it is incremental improvements. So when we started, we found that India has something like 80 million metric ton of the private storage space, but still they are all centered around the urban pockets. You take the state of Bihar, but we did one study was like 66% of the villages don't have access to the storage space. So then when we went there, when we saw that there is no space available, we were looking at how can you create out of nothing a storage space. So we started working with whatever was available. Sometimes it was a closed shop, it was a temple hall, it was not like this so-called sexy, scientific, large quorum. So we started working with what is available. And maybe there the one big, the innovative thing was like when the storage is not available, we started bringing in innovative things like hermetic bags, where you can store over up to 10,000 tons. You can create a storage out of thin air. That was a real innovation. And then, we found that finance was a challenge. So during the pandemic time, we spent big time, implementing tech everywhere. Today, a farmer brings in with his produce, or a FPO brings with his produce, it gets finance on the produce less than 3 minutes. It will hit his account. It's completely end-to-end enabled through the tech. Then when he want to sell it, he can do it through our commerce models. A lot of innovation around that. It takes a lot of time. Where he's able to connect directly to the large corporate, maybe cutting down 2 or 3 layers. So the storage at the finance, at the commerce, there are innovations that we have brought in to see that you can't change what is there, right? I mean, it's not possible for me to create a large warehouse in a village. How many villages do I create that? So that will be asset heavy for me, and I'll not be able to sweat that asset. So you'll have to take what is available and make money out of that. And then eventually, when the business makes sense, when 100 tons go to 200 to 500, the village themselves will construct a warehouse because they will see the utility for that. It's always like the chicken and egg story. Like China says, build the roads and buildings and they will come, right? So that's what will happen here as well. Now the third piece, what is your role in it? The audience sitting here, right? Maybe 2 types of marriages happens in here, right? The arranged marriages and the love marriage. Right? In arranged marriage, like in my parents' time or grandparents' time, marriage happens first and the love happens next. You start liking it. So when I studied my BS agriculture, it was like that. Most of my people of my generation, it's not that we liked agriculture and we went to the profession of BS agriculture, because it was something like 1996. We all tried for medicine, we did not get it. So the next opportunity was for veterinary or agriculture in this country at that point in time, not like these days you have. That's how we went it. And then you start liking it when you keep learning it, right? But today what I see is, the opportunity is, to be honest with you, probably my supervisor or my warehouse manager is far better paid than many people in the tech ecosystem. Because the supply has become more there, right? And here it is not like that. I've struggled to find a manager or a supervisor. The demand is much more. So each of these rural organizations which I mentioned, the farmer organizations, they are all becoming like large companies, the way they are growing. Sahyadri, you see, they are coming to the accessing the public markets, right? And you will have many more such Sahyadris in a couple of years, hundreds and thousands, right? So what will happen is, like, each of those organizations will require managers like people sitting here. And already, I see advertisements coming from the farmer organizations. A CEO of a farmer producer company, if I have to find someone in a rural place, I have to give him nothing less than 40,000 rupees. Okay? So, and this is much more, it's increasing. And that scale can happen only through backbone of the tech which I mentioned to you earlier. So the trend, the innovations that can help us overcome what we see as a challenge, and the opportunity for the young people sitting here, that's what I wanted to, speak in how much less words as possible.
Talking about the breakthrough innovations that are already demonstrating impact inside India and outside India. Vijay, I would like to ask you that, because you're working on hydroponics, do you feel that hydroponics somewhere can really reduce the burden on Indian agriculture? And what role will that play? Because that also in the whenever we talk about infrastructure innovations, why is cattle fodder or cattle fodder tech often an ignored conversation?
Hydroponics, I'm not too sure. There are two kinds of hydroponics that are there around the world. There's what we are doing is relatively small, which is focused on livestock. What everyone uses or whatever.
Even saffron today, in some context, people are actually growing saffron even in Delhi.
So the issue with ground-based growing of lettuce versus growing it in a hydroponic center is the crop cycle. Right? A lettuce takes about 45 days for it to really be consumer ready. For 45 days, if in a hydroponic center you have to manage climate conditions, nutrition, etc., it becomes very expensive. Right? The consumer will not pay you more because you happen to be growing it hydroponically. It is better for sure because it is organic and less nutrition, but nowhere in the world is consumer paying more because you happen to grow it hydroponically. So the economics on consumer side doesn't necessarily work out unless it is in the exotic space, and then of course there is only that much of market for hydroponics. For something like what we are doing, our crop cycles are extremely high. From the grain to the time the animal eats it, it's just a 10-day cycle. Right? So we are able to do extremely large number of turns, and we do it in an extremely energy efficient manner. Anything in India which requires an air conditioner, you can assume that that's not going to work out economically for the business. Right? So what we've really innovated is to try and ensure that the energy cost while we are turning this around stays extremely low, the cost of nutrition stays low. That is why we are able to produce nutrition that works for a small farmer. Ultimately, my customer needs to see value in what he's buying. So if I'm able to show him that the input cost is either the same or slightly lower with my product, and of course the output in terms of quality of milk is higher, then he is going to pay me. Otherwise, the farmer, so let me put it bluntly, I think the farmer is one of the most intelligent human beings around, and he's also an extreme risk taker. Right? I mean, imagine the amount. I mean, imagine any one of us putting crops in the field and going home to sleep while it is open to wild animals, and so he's taking. It's almost like a trading kind of a mindset that the farmer could have. So you need to produce stuff which really works for him. I have a view, and I'm from an Agritech company, but I have a view that if you produce from a technology perspective, right? The farmer says कि मुझे इसकी ज़रूरत नहीं. Unless you are able to tell him how your technology solution is really going to help him improve his well-being or his life or the output that you are in a position to do. So there's a lot of tech that is around mapping of fields and about I can pick this up from the satellite, etc. The farmer looks at it, he's happy, but you tell him to pay $1,000 for that solution, he's probably not going to cough it up. If on the other hand you are able to tell him that because of this, your water consumption can reduce and that will help you save an X amount of money, if that maths work, then the farmer is willing to pay. In terms of infrastructure, while I think these guys are doing excellent work from the farm to fork kind of a supply chain management, I think two issues that I think need to be fixed, and I don't know how it will get fixed. The government's done great work on payments and commerce and those pieces, and then the private guys are stepping in to solve it. And I think, unlike China, including China, it should be the private guys who solve it. Having said that, I think two huge problems that exist today, the way that I see it, number one is water. And I think someone in the panel mentioned it earlier. We are walking into a water crisis. We are already in a water crisis. I think parts of North India, etc., are way beyond repair. So and the farmers are pumping out water like there is no next generation. So there has to be. I think the panelists talked about it right in the beginning. But I think that's one infrastructure problem that I see hitting us within our own lifetimes. The second is, what is the farm gate price that the farmer is getting? Right? Now, it was mentioned again, but I will not take an international example, but the reason why I think milk is such a huge success in India is because of this organization called Agro. Right? For the longest time, and I think it's been there for so long that people don't really take it as seriously as they should. A farmer today on milk gets 80% the value that as an end customer we end up paying, 80%. That is why milk as a product is still workable for the farmer. If he was to go potatoes, I mean, I'm not the super expert at it, but these guys will tell you it's around 30%. So the real issue, if I want to go back into farming, is going to be farm gate price मुझे मिलना चाहिए, उसके लिए cold storage probably is one of the biggest things that need to be done, and I need to be not dependent on पर्ची लेके मुझे pump on करना and I have to do flood irrigation. I think flood irrigation is a problem, water is a problem, and of course post-produce, that is a huge problem in my head that has to be necessarily solved.
Thank you so much, Vijay ji. Like on the water note, coming to the waterman industry today. Mathew ji, please share with us some technologies, at least in the water space, that are solving the water infrastructure problem for agriculture in India, outside India, and what role would say renewable energy play into this? Like, because we are seeing solar pumps coming up, many other things. What are your views?
See, one thing is I was just noting down most of I was giving whatever inputs. So there are plenty of things which are ultimately getting linked finally to water. Right? After we started from technology space, then we ultimately ended up into the basic necessities, which is soil, water, and air. Right? So water, I would say, is one of the most misunderstood subjects. Basically, because we all understand water as H2O, right? Now, if it is just a molecule of hydrogen and oxygen coming together, then just answer one question. Hydrogen is combustible, oxygen is combustible, why is water extinguishable? Right? So it is definitely something way beyond what we perceive it to be. Now, life began in water, we all know. But when ISRO and NASA is doing space exploration, they're searching for water, because if water is there, life is possible. Now, how come that goes incorrect in case of planet Earth? Because we are the people who are wasting water like anything, right? 75% of the water requirements of the country is actually going into the agri-tech, into the agriculture sector. So what exactly is the reason behind that? And if you actually look at water, we know at least for last 7,000 years that there is water beneath the soil surface, right? Everybody would have seen that episode of Mahabharata, right? Arjun took out a bow and he was able to take out water from the ground, right? So we knew water is there beneath the soil. Then why were we not taking it out? It was just because we understood that nature does everything for a purpose. If the soil is there beneath if the water is there beneath the soil, there is a purpose that it is serving. Now we are just pumping in water like anything, because for the farmers, electricity is free and pumping out water is also free. So that is why we are doing flood irrigation. Now if you just pick up the data in last about 20 years, the amount of water we have pumped out and the amount and the number of earthquakes which has gone up, you will find there is a linkage between, because water beneath the soil was actually working as a pneumatic shock absorber for the movement of the tectonic plates. It's not that the tectonic plates were not moving earlier, they were moving, but that shock was being absorbed by water. Now we are taking out water, now we are using it for whatever XYZ purposes. Is that water good enough for terrestrial usage? Had it had been good enough, it wouldn't have been beneath the soil. So we need to understand certain basic things about the nature around us. What is the purpose of water? What is the purpose of water beneath the surface? What is the purpose of water above the surface? Why do we have 3 different kinds of water? Marine water, brackish water and sweet water. Everything is there on this planet around us only, right? Why do terrestrial ecosystem, terrestrial organisms need only sweet water? Why is the marine life absolutely fine with the salinity? And why do we have different species dwelling out of the brackish water, right? So nature has created different ecosystems, and different ecosystems need different kind of resources. That is what nature is producing. We are just disturbing it from the perspective that we are the consumers, we are the God's gift to the planet, and we are there to consume everything. God has created everything for us to consume. Actually, we cannot consume anything. Everything is moving in a cycle. We first need to understand nature, that everything moves in a cycle, and as long as the cycle is on, everything will be replenished for everybody on the planet. See, the concept of waste and wealth are both man-made. Nature doesn't have anything called waste or anything called wealth. Waste for one organism is wealth for another organism, and that is how the cycle goes on. So we just need to respect the decisions of nature and use the resources as a resource. We are not supposed to consume the resources. Like, if you actually look at it logically, not even a single drop of water has gone outside of the planet. Whatever water was there 10,000 years back, it is still there, right? So why do you have a scarcity today? Some people will say that the human population has gone up. Yes, human population has gone up, but we have made so many species go extinct. So the number of living entities remains the same, right? So instead of a particular species of a frog, there are more human beings, right? So consumers remain the same. So we need to understand that infrastructure is there, innovation is there, we just need to use it wisely. Like in the morning itself, we were having a discussion that India has invented a new variety of rice by gene editing. That means tech is there, but is the tech being used in the right direction? We already have so many varieties of rice existing in India, which is the native diversity into the crop of rice within the country, which is climate resistant, which is giving you more nutrition, but we are gene editing a particular species of rice and creating a new variety. Is it required? So we just have to be wise enough to use the technology in the right direction for the right kind of innovation. Energy is definitely one of those sectors. And again, energy, again, I would have a very different opinion from rest of the world because, we thought that hydroelectricity is very green. It is very eco-friendly. But the amount of greenhouse gas emission that is happening from a dam of the size of Tehri is more than the continent of Australia put together. All industrial emission, all vehicular emission, everything put together, more than that greenhouse gas emission is happening only from a Tehri dam. Right? We expect solar to be very green, but solar absorbs only photons. It reflects the infrared. So where does the infrared go? It is there in the atmosphere. So a large-scale solar plant on day one increases the local temperature by 5 to 6 degrees. So are we solving the problem or we are just postponing the problem? Because solar footprints are localized. The day it goes global, we will be increasing the global temperature by 5 to 6 degrees. Right? So we have to be very cautious about the power of technology that we have in our hand and do the innovation in the right direction. That is what is required.
Thank you, Madhukar ji, for sharing this. And on this note, I would like to share with the audience that, there was this one village that we visited in Karnataka, Gulbarga, and the nearest village was Tirtha. So there, that particular village, they did not have water, and it was to an extent that kids were not able to go to school early because water wasn't available. I met these people who actually walked so long distance to just get that water. And there, one of these organizations, they went, they did Boblast technology, and again, it's debatable if Boblast is good or not, but what happened there was that now kids were able to go to school earlier. We saw people started farming with onions and all that coming up in that place. So my question to you, Morup ji, would be that, and how this organization actually did was they actually went on ground, they worked with the local community, and then they created a solution. As we were talking in the morning, that how important is for solution makers today solving for infrastructure to go to create with farmers. Because sometimes the innovation seems an innovation to us, but for the farmer, it's not an innovation. So how can we do that? And is there an ecosystem available in India that these innovators can actually have access to solve for agriculture specifically?
Right. Thank you for the question. So I think when we look at agriculture per se, I believe it is not just the point of view of the farmer that we must look at. It is the complete value chain perspective that needs to be kept on. Any sort of innovation that we talk about, if you're not able to, or if you're not factoring in those perspectives or requirements, we will again end up working in a silo, which is what is happening. So I think the real requirement is really keeping the overall larger perspective and then connecting every stakeholder in, participating in this sector. So that could be a farmer, that could be an input there, that could be a person who is supporting with weather information, soil testing, anything, any scientist contributing with a new variety, any sort of buyer who has a specific requirement, and the middlemen or the guys who are helping in the collections and everything. So perspective of everybody needs to be kept in. So only then the real innovation will come. Right now, because of the very silo nature of work that people are doing, so there are some things which are going, like I was saying, people working in the, as I said, a new variety has come, but who's going to take it? is the end buyer or the consumer looking for the variety specific requirement? If it's there, if there is a need, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it will become one more journal, one more research paper, right? So it is not never going to go commercial. So that connectivity, that overall aspect has to be there to really evolve or usher into this next gen part. And innovation is going to happen. Innovation is bound to happen. But innovation, if it's very specific to, as you said, if you're really focusing on how to pump out more and more water through various, it was happening through electrical now from the solar part, and maybe tomorrow with some other source of energy. The point is that if you're pumping out a lot of water, was it really required? Could be a pump for a drip of sort, or how do you really go? So I think, that combination perspective needs to be there. If you were sensitive about water wastage, then you would have gone for a combination of drip plus pump, and then it makes sense. Okay, it not only helps the farmer produce better, but at the same time save a lot of work. So having all perspectives really is important. We cannot be working in silos, so we need to have consortiums from all sectors, research, technology, farming, import. Everybody needs to have a perspective, and only then the real innovation, only then the real value will come to the. So that's how it works.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And as he was mentioning about the drip and using the pumps, so there's this one particular startup that I came across in Karad, Sikka Innovation. So they're actually doing the same thing, but they're doing with sugarcane farmers. And there, these farmers have actually seen, how they have actually reduced the water that they're using in their fields. Plus, because in that particular area there are snakes. Now these farmers do not have to enter the fields to switch on and off the pumps, so those snake bites, they get saved from that as well. So I believe that please be part of such networks like today that we all are here. Keep sharing, keep building, and keep talking with innovators and thought leaders like them, because it really helps us refine a solution and take them to the market. So thank you for being a great audience, and thank you so much for being an extremely amazing panelist. So we are taking questions from the audience. Questions?
So basically software space, because that's where I think I can contribute. So actually what I saw was many panelists talk about predictive analysis, that farmers can know the yield before even growing the crops with some factors. But yeah, that all comes down to data collection that happens with farmers. But it's extremely hard. You cannot just give them a Google form, or you cannot just ask them, and there can be a lot of miscalculation. They can provide wrong information. I know there are several techniques that we use in data analytics part, like pre-processing the data and removing the outliers. But is that really a good approach to data collection? Because I think that is pretty amazing idea if we can work on that. But how can we approach that problem? Because is it really, and it is a good approach, but is it really efficient? Yeah, I would like to answer.
So we are working with a company called Intello Lab. It is a startup based out of Gurgaon, and they are helping us with a software solution right now, which we are doing first trials in July this coming year, on field crop assessment only through software. So they have developed certain devices with which our representative on the ground with the farmer will move around in the field, and that device will be able to count the apples in a farm. So at least 80 to 90% of accuracy will be achieved in terms of assessment of the crop. Like if I have say 200 trees in my orchard, that device and a software will help us to assess the crop, कि कितनी quantity होगी, कितने metric ton का production होगा. Not only that, it will also give us some indication about size, color, shape, and that is being practically done outside India also. The second part which is happening in Agritech space, and where a lot of companies like us are working, it is non-destructive produce quality assessment. That is a second aspect which we are working upon, which means अगर आपने आम की या सेब की क्वालिटी पता करनी है तो आप उसको काटना पड़ता है और काट के उसको देखना पड़ता है, which is very difficult to do when there are say 2000 crates available which has come at your farm gate or a cold store. So for that, what you do, you have certain equipments in place, certain technologies which are being developed, which is infrared, X-ray based, and where without destructing a fruit, I can do a quality assessment, and it can actually give me the right sample that okay, out of these 1,000 crates, there is a prediction of that these much of crates, those fruits will be not working. So there are a lot of scope for software which you are talking about in this particular area, and I think with these kind of technologies there will be a lot of value addition which will happen to farmers and companies which are working in agri space. Thank you.
If I can
I
add.
100,000 farms because we have a satellite monitoring department. So all these 2 lakh farmers, nobody go to them for any data. So today we know the stress levels, the moisture levels, and the biotic and abiotic stress of the farm without anybody going there. Because the farmer has to send a SMS from his farm to our system. The farm gets GPS log, and then every week the satellite passes once in 3 days over it, and we have data at a gap of 3 to 5 days across. I mean, this can be done anywhere for the world sitting in India. We have a team of Agri-Tech people who does that because we have almost 60 to 70 engineers working with us. And then apart from that as well, even when the farmer sprayed, did the crop burning or not? What type of cultivation the farmer is doing, because we almost work with 2,000 farmers on AWD, that's a water efficient rice cultivation. So if you as a person tell me that I have followed DSR method of cultivation or flooding method of cultivation, I have a mechanism to know whether you did that or not. I will be able to even tell how many times you irrigated the field. And these are the monitoring technologies which is available. And then there are other piece like the drones with hyperspectroscopy cameras which hovers around and can exactly decide what, tell us what is the disease that is there. Today, if someone takes a photograph of the symptom and sent to Siddharth team, who is here with, who leads the technology thing, to the 95% accuracy level, we can tell what pest or what disease it is. So technology has actually removed the requirement of so many legs in the field. I mean, in terms of going and doing it, but thanks to agriculture being agriculture, still a lot of human intervention is required. The AI and robotics is not going to so fast take the jobs away from this field. I hope so.
Yeah. Just to add, I think what they are doing at a fairly satellite level. We have developed technology where we are able to do it at a 1.5 feet distance. And to make it such that any farmer or anyone with an Android or an iOS phone with a simple camera should be in a position to use it. So if he takes a photograph of that particular thing, our ML predicts 8 days later exactly how much is the growth going to be, the weight going to be. And currently we are within 10% of the actual that we've been able to produce. So we are using the same ML with random forest kind of algorithm where we are in a position to do that. So I think technology, it's not, I think it's a very early stages of trying to do this, but technology is absolutely essential on this.
The way AI and everything is shaping up, it's there to be adopted. From a student's perspective, since you showed interest in this, what I would like to suggest is that it's very important that we know whom are you developing it for. Like a lot of panel members mentioned about the vegetation index, water index, they are existing there. And it's a base layer of technology that is existing there for long, right? And if you just switch to any AI console, maybe a Microsoft Azure or something, it's the moment that they're existing there, it's not a big thing. The point is that what do you want to do? If you really are serious about doing something in this space, you must look at whom are you building it for? What is it that is actually required? And who's the target audience? If your target audience is farmer, no, that's what I'm coming to. So the point is that most of the people who are doing it, their target audience is not farmers. So if your target audience is, let's say, insurance, you need to build models, customize it from the perspective of the insurance agency. What are the pain points? They want the authenticity of the ground truth in case of insurance matters a lot of money. They may earn or lose a lot of money. That's why they're looking for a model which can give them with a high accuracy whether it's happened or not, event happened, what point, what not point. You can always process images. You can go for high-end satellite images. You can go for precise. Pay more money, you will get much more precise. As I said, 10 meter, 1 meter, everything is available. But somewhere you need to have, it needs to make a commercial sense for you as a developer, right? Now, if you look at what's coming up right now, gas emissions are going to be a big thing. Sustainability has become a big thing, right? What I find the gap, anybody interested in this space is that most of us, rather, I'm not speaking for everyone, but most of the companies that I've come across that we work with, we are importing technologies from Europeans. I think, challenge there is that the kind of agriculture that happens is more industrial agriculture, right? Ours is more fragmented, ours is more mixed farming of sorts, right? So my question generally to them is that, in a country where we are promoting rather natural farming, sustainability and everything that we say, we go for mixed cropping and all. The moment it happens, the signatures of this satellite image and everything goes for a toss. So those signatures may not be applicable. So you need to create something, customization on that. How do you really remove those noises and still make sense, right? That could be a potential area where you can come up with a product. And what you're doing is that you're actually solving the problem which is existing there from a sustainability, from a gas emission perspective, and you have a business case there because there is willingness for people to pay. The farmers may not pay, the enterprises will pay, because most of the people who have subscribed for net zero, right, or subscribe for GHG cut downs, they have an ambition. So they will be looking for such a technology. Now they may be doing it a certain way, having subscribed to an auditors and all, and they may be paying, let's say, you need to understand the business aspect as well. They may be, let's say, they're paying $1,000 per acre or so. Is your technology going to offer the same level of accuracy, same level of authenticity, and yet maybe at a cheaper price, help them make more business, right? And end of the day, the farmers are benefiting. How do you really understand? You have to really know who is it for. We can't be talking and creating yet another general vegetation. It doesn't add up. So I think that's something that is missing big time. We need to know the industry perspective, know what you're building and whom are you building for. Once you go on that journey, you will figure out something. That's the important part. But thankfully, with all these giants, they're offering you that platform. You don't need to now go gather hundreds of VCs, get some investment and build this base structure. It's there, the consoles are there, very much apt for it. In fact, I would rather say that most of the people who are in the Agrotech space right now, they may be using at the back end Microsoft or somebody else's base model, right? So customization is the key. This is something that is industry is looking for, and not a general sort of another software. It doesn't add up very well.
Thank you. Do we have time for one or
my challenges that we have in India? I believe that today the farmers are not only going localized, but they are also looking for last mile solutions. How can policies which are actually existing and policies that we can adopt for farmers make an impact in this segment? Other part of the question is, how can data management help implement those policies and last mile, we can improve the last mile challenges?
Like the panel talk more on the storage aspect or the cold storage aspect.
Okay.
Like, so on that.
So, policy framework in India is divided into two parts. One is the enabling environment which government has created by creating certain subsidies. So one subsidies goes to developers like us who are agri entrepreneurs and business, and one is the subsidy which goes to farmers. So government has actually implemented very strong policies at a farm level, which farmer get to enable him to grow and take various facilities. Like today, farmer is not only getting subsidy for buying farm equipment, he is getting subsidy for buying crop input material. He is getting subsidy for transport also. He is getting subsidy even for new farm purchase. So recently, government has launched a Kisan credit scheme also, where certain credit facility has been available in nationalized bank and private banks. And there is an ecosystem which has been created that farmer is enabled for all his financial needs. This is one part. Secondly, government is also pushing a lot of reforms in APMC, which is basically a marketing body for agriculture produce. So there are various APMC acts which are at a state level. All different state has various APMC acts. Government is doing a lot of reforms to bring it in a uniform stage, where farmers get a right value for the produce, if you go to any APMC mandis, there are ENAM centers which are being created by government in each mandi, and each trader is being mandatory now being asked to register on that, so that farmers are paid in time at the last mile, whenever he sells the produce. He's not, any fraud is not done with him, he get a right value, and he has access to that ENAM network across India for, anybody can inquire and buy it from him. So in the first stage, government is putting all the traders actually on the ENAM in the first stage, and secondly, then they will move on to the large farmer networks and FPUs which they want to bring on this platform. That's how government is enabling the policy network for the farmer benefit for last mile thing which you said. Anybody can add?
I'll add. If I understand your last mile, it is where the farmer sells his produce. So on the milk, I can tell you the last mile in India is probably the best in the world. Right? If it is a 500-600 household village, that village would have 2 to 3 collection centers. Right? What started in Gujarat is now, I see almost across the country, it's replicated. A farmer, once he registers with the collection center, early morning, evening, he takes whatever milk he has. The collection center is digitally enabled, which means that the milk is tested, the fat, SNF, quantity, etc. Gets pinged on the server. Basis that, the rate is calculated and the farmer gets an SMS real time or the amount that he is due, and that money hits the farmer within 7 days. Right? Because this is so well done, and everyone is more or less implementing the same model. There's obviously competition between the various collection centers, so the rates that he gets is pretty good, and this piece is not broken. What used to happen earlier was that there was this gentleman who was locally referred to as the Dudia, right, who would go farmer to farmer and collect milk. Right? All of us have kind of heard of that story. So what the farmer would do first is that whatever milk he's got, he'll add a couple of liters of water to it, or maybe a liter of water. Dudia collects it, there's no better way for him to test it. Then Dudia adds a couple of more liters before he ships it out. So milk quality was getting diluted. That entire piece, I'm not saying it has disappeared, but that has become much better. There's a lot more transparency on product getting picked up and the farmer getting paid for it. So that's in the milk space.
Also, like what he said, so we did one story for Akshay Kalpa. Maybe like you can check our channel online, Bharat Climate Startups. So there, Shashi ji actually showed ki kaise they collect milk and the entire machinery that they use to test जिसमें कितना fat percentage है, कुछ भी mixing नहीं है. So like what he's actually saying, you can actually see that in action in real time, and it's happening at Akshay Kalpa, like where I personally saw that thing for the first time.
Is
So
this
every
happening
village-
with other crops other than milk? Is it happening with any crops?
It is happening with apples also. So I will explain to you how it happens.
I guess we should have it in almost every crop then.
So I will tell you what we are doing right now. It's very interesting. So if you are a farmer and you are bringing say 100 crates of apple to us, each crate weighs around 16 to 17 kg. So there are usually pickups used in hills which carries of roughly 100 crates. So we have a grading machine which is tech enabled. So once apples are put across to that machine, each apple is photographed 36 times by that machine. That machine is able to give you the exact weight in grams of that apple, and then it also defines the defects, which are the external defect, which is sunburn, rusting, and any other thing. And then apart from that, it also defines the color of the apple, because buying is apple color based. So end of the lot, when the lot is the whole lot is run, say it runs 100 crates run in 15 minutes in that machine, is a 5-ton per hour capacity machine. That software of that machine is able to generate a bill for farmers. कि आप कितने सेब आए थे? We divide that entire apple into 27 different grades. Based upon that grading, a bill is generated for the farmer, which is directly sent to his WhatsApp or phone or hard copy if he's not using WhatsApp. So that is very, very accurate. Farmer can cross-check it. It is a very, transparent way of, paying to farmer and real value to farmer, and that's what we do. So close to 5,000 farmers are, supplying apples to us on these lines only.
Okay, just to add, I think on milk, because the collection is mostly being done by either the private dairy or by milk cooperatives. The farmers, when they sign up, they become a member of the cooperative, right? So let's say if it is Gujarat Milk Federation, so they will become a member of that. So they get some money upfront, as in within 7-8 days, and then depending on the profit of the cooperative, they additionally get. So there's a lot more ownership, transparency, etc. that has been set in this space. And even the private dairies actually follow more or less the same model.
Okay, let's wrap this. Like panelists are here, we can connect here for India, built with the farmers, built with the nature and with real scale and real impact. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you all the